is up? Welcome to the July 2025 market recap. So, hope you guys are all having an amazing summer and figuring out how to stay cool here. In terms of what's going on with the real estate market, you've probably been paying attention to all the craziness and conversation between Fed Chair Powell and Donald Trump. And we're getting tons of questions about what that's doing to impact the market. The true answer is it's really not doing it much of anything. It's a lot of noise. But we are seeing what we would consider pretty normal seasonality for us in terms of the summer. It's hot, people are on vacation. July typically isn't a very busy month for us. And overall in the market, that is kind of holding true. There is a lot of buyer demand that's still pent up. And a lot of our buyers are waiting to see what's going to happen with interest rates and the next Fed meetings and how those things might impact affordability. What's interesting is, and one of the things I really wanted to talk and cover about today is where buyers are and where sellers are and what that's meaning for the market. So I just read something, I can't remember where I read it. So, but that maybe it was something from Redfin or Zillow, but that about 15% of the homes that are currently going under contract are now falling out of escrow. And that's a really high number. I think it's like the highest number in over 20 years. And I was thinking about why that's happening. We're not seeing too much of it on the team personally, but we are seeing some of the effects of how buyers and sellers are feeling as we're negotiating through things. So one of the things we've noticed is, obviously, if you're a seller, you've probably noticed this as well. There's less buyers in the market and homes are sitting on the market for a little bit longer and they're selling for not as close to list price as they were selling for before. And so buyers know this and they're coming in and they're negotiating it. And a lot of sellers are feeling like they're giving away a lot up front in the negotiation. So in other words, they're offering concessions or they're making big price reductions or something to put the deal together. And then what's happening is we're noticing that we're doing the inspections and the buyers are wanting everything fixed way more than it used to be even a year or two ago. We're seeing buyers ask for things like a whole new roof when it just needs a little bit of a repair, or a whole new sewer line just because the line got clogged and stuff like that. And I think a lot of that's because of affordability, but also it's because buyers understand that they're a little bit more in control than they were in the past because there's not as many other buyers just waiting behind them to buy that house if they let it fall out. And that's creating some really interesting negotiations because there's a lot of emotions running really high in every direction right now. And if you don't have the right agent helping you negotiate and navigate through this, what we're seeing is a lot of those deals are falling out, thus that 15% fallout plan. So I wanted to give you guys a couple quick practical tips in terms of what you can be thinking about if you're a buyer and if you're a seller to help mitigate this. So if you're on the selling side of this, there's some really easy things that you can do to help make the negotiation for the repairs go a little bit easier. Some people will go as far as getting a full home inspection before they even list the home and try to get all those repairs handled up front so that the home inspection comes back really clean. If you don't want to go to that extent, I would say the big ticket things are places that we really have found a lot of value and helped our sellers save a lot of money by getting those things handled up front. And one of the biggest things is the roof. So our roofs here in Arizona always crack. The tiles crack and it exposes the underlayment. It's on almost every home inspection. There's always cracked tiles, weather just cracks the tiles over time. But as a house gets older, maybe say 10 years old, 15 years old, 20 years old, even though there's technically a lot of life potentially left on that roof, when buyers are seeing that right now, that there's cracked tiles or there's repairs that need to be made, even though they might only be worth a few $100s, they're going ahead and just asking for a whole new roof because they're like, well, the roof only has 5 years left or 8 years left. So one of the great things you can do as a seller is get a roofer out there before you list the house, get all those cracked tiles fixed, get a lot of times the mortar caps break off, things like that. It's only hundreds of dollars typically to get those things fixed. But that way, when the home inspector goes up on the roof, he's going to be like, wow, this roof looks amazing. and there's no repair to ask for as a buyer. So you can really save yourself a lot of heartache as a seller. I would say the same thing about air conditionings. If your air conditioning is more than a few years old, get it serviced. Make sure the filters are clean. Make sure all that stuff's in absolutely great shape so that it comes back great on the home inspection. Otherwise, we're seeing the buyers ask for new air conditioning units just because the units are old, even if they're working fine still. So a lot of things on the seller side like that you can do to really help all the negotiations along and make sure you don't get stuck having to agree to more repairs after you already agreed to a lower price. If you're on the buyer side of this, understanding what you're buying and, what we like to show our buyers is negotiate the price first, then get the inspection. And then from there, we can take those inspection items and we can negotiate repairs. And we're having a lot of success getting those new roofs we just talked about, because we're obviously, if we're on the buying side of this, want to make sure that they're getting what the absolute most value. We're getting large concessions and credits for repairs right now from sellers, even after we were already able to negotiate large amounts off the price. So if you're a buyer, strategically working with your agent to have a way that you've positioned this, one in the negotiation, but then secondarily in the inspections right now, there's a lot of great value to be had. That being said, people want to buy and people want to sell, and we're still doing deals. Personally, on the team, we're having a really strong quarter already, even though the numbers are down in Metro Phoenix and they're down across the country. And I think it's just really having these honest conversations. So make sure you have a trusted professional right now that can help you navigate through this, understand what you're looking for. If you're a buyer, how in demand is the product that you're looking for, or if you're going to have a lot of options. If you're a seller, are you in a high demand area where you can still hold more firm, or are you going to have to make concessions to compete with new builds? So these are all things you want to negotiate up front, but find a trusted professional, let them help you navigate through this. I have a very strong feeling we're going to have a great second half to this year in terms of that demand starting to trickle into actual contracts. So now's a great time to start thinking about your future plans here between now and the end of the year. If you have questions, we'd love to chat. So please reach out. Until next month, hope you guys have a great day.